A buyback clause, for those of you who don't already know, is just a clause inserted into a player's contract when they are sold, which stipulates that the selling club can buy the player back for a set fee, or sometimes just have the first option should the buying club ever accept a bid for the player from another club. Typically, they are time dependent, often only effective for 3 or 4 years, and we've seen them talked about a little bit recently here in England. Chelsea inserted a buyback clause into Nathan Ake's £20 million transfer to Bournemouth, stating that the Blues will be able to re-sign Ake for double that amount, although that is no longer the case, with the Dutchman recently having signed for Manchester City for £41 million. Manchester City are themselves believed to have buyback options on the likes of Douglas Luiz and Kelechi Iheanacho. Liverpool did have the option on Jordan Ibe and Brad Smith before both became free agents, and Manchester United have the latter option in which Lyon are contractually obliged to inform them should they accept an offer for Memphis Depay from another club. Despite all those examples, buyback clauses are actually a pretty new and rare feature of Premier League transfer business, and are much more common in La Liga and in more recent times, Serie A. In today's video, I'm just going to take a completely random selection of times that teams activated buyback clauses and see how it turned out. Before you ask what about Alvaro Negredo or tell me I forgot Alvaro Morata, as I said, this is just a random 7. There have been more than 7, so yes, not every buyback clause ever triggered will feature. Here are 7 times that clubs activated buyback clauses. How did it turn out? Lorenzo Pellegrini to Roma. Buyback clauses are becoming an increasingly commonly used tool by the bigger clubs in Italian football, and Lorenzo Pellegrini is one of the most high-profile Serie A players to have been sold and re-signed thanks to a buyback clause. Born in Rome, Pellegrini joined Roma as a 9-year-old, but after 10 years at the club, with just a single senior appearance to his name, Pellegrini was allowed to depart, joining Sassuolo for €1.25 million in June 2015. Still aware that there could be a player hidden away there, Roma covered their backs with a buyback clause should Pellegrini burst into life in Modena. That is exactly what happened. In his first season with Sassuolo, Pellegrini got to grips with men's football at the highest level, but in his second season, he was among the most impressive young footballers in the Italian game. Pellegrini scored 7 goals and made 7 assists from just 28 starts, and exactly 2 years on from his initial transfer to Sassuolo, Roma exercised their right to bring the youngster back to the Stadio Olimpico. Now a full international with 12 caps for Italy to his name, Pellegrini didn't set the world alight in his first season back in the capital, but he's proved to be well worth the €10 million that they paid to resign him. A clever, industrious and gifted midfield playmaker, Pellegrini made 11 assists this season, including 9 in Serie A, which was the third most of any player in the division. Denis Suarez to Barcelona. No one exercises buyback clauses more frequently than La Liga's big 2, Barcelona and Real Madrid, and Denis Suarez is someone who is likely to be familiar with almost all of our viewers, having also had 2 stints in England. Unlike most players Barcelona sign using buyback clauses, Denis Suarez didn't actually begin his career with Barcelona. Born and raised in Galicia, close to the Spanish border with northern Portugal, Suarez made his name in the youth ranks at Celta Vigo. Following his impressive form for Spain's under-17s though, Manchester City signed Suarez in 2011. The Citizens turned a small profit on Suarez when they sold him to Barcelona 2 years on, and after a season on loan at Sevilla, Barca themselves cashed in on Suarez, letting him join Villarreal for somewhere in the region of €3.5 million. As is sometimes the case with buyback clauses, Suarez's move to Villarreal was really more of a glorified loan move, since the buyback clause in his contract allowed Barcelona to re-sign him for no more than they had sold him for. And that's exactly what they did, following just a single season as Suarez returned to the Camp Nou and proceeded to make 63 appearances over the next 2 seasons. Following only 8 appearances during the first half of the 2018-19 campaign, Suarez was loaned out to Arsenal, but he played even less football in North London due to a pelvic injury. Barcelona sold Suarez for a second time last summer as he returned to Galicia in a potential €16 million move to Celta Vigo. Financially, buying back Suarez was a success for Barca, and the 26-year-old rediscovered some fitness and form this season with Celta. Casemiro to Real Madrid. A masterstroke in the category of triggering a buyback clause, Casemiro has become a Real Madrid great since returning to the Bernabeu in 2015. The buyback clause in Casemiro's contract is among the most unusual in this 7, since the midfielder never actually officially left Real Madrid. Signed by Los Blancos in 2013 from Sao Paulo, Real initially took Casemiro on loan, but within days, he had been signed on a permanent. Following 25 appearances in the 2013-14 season, Real decided to let Casemiro join Porto on loan with a view to a permanent in the summer of 2014. Now, the loan move stipulated that Porto could sign Casemiro for €15 million should they wish to do so, but it also had a buyback clause, meaning Real could overrule Porto's ability to sign Casemiro and instead keep him at Real Madrid should they decide to pay Porto €7.5 million for that privilege. Given Casemiro's fine form in Portugal, Real decided it was worth paying Porto the €7.5 million, and that has proved to be a very shrewd decision. The Brazilian has become one of the world's most effective midfield enforcers in the Spanish capital, covering a vast amount of ground, reading the game expertly, and adding some real steel to the Real Madrid midfield. Casemiro has played 240 games for Real Madrid, winning 14 trophies, and it's not unfathomable that he could double both of those tallies. Angelino to Manchester City. As I said in the introduction, buyback clauses are a relatively recent arrival to the English game, and whilst we have seen a fair few inserted into deals, we have seen very few actually exercised. Angelino is one of those few though, and the nomadic 23-year-old has already played football for 7 different clubs in 5 different countries, even at this early stage in his career. Another Spaniard from Galicia, who was snapped up by Man City youth team level, clearly the citizens scout that region of Spain with a particularly eager eye. Angelino was signed from the youth ranks of Deportivo La Coruña, but he played just 4 games in 4 years at the Etihad, going out on loan to New York City FC, Girona, Mallorca, and NAC Breda. His loan move to Breda was his most successful, and Angelino chose to stay in the Netherlands, making a permanent transfer to PSV in 2018. Angelino was sold for around £5 million, but following an impressive season in the Eredivisie, Man City decided that they wanted him back. The fee that they paid, which was dictated by the buyback clause in his deal, has been reported as being anywhere between £5 and £11 million, which City viewed as a good investment given Angelino's sell-on value in the open market. The Spaniard made 12 appearances under Pep Guardiola earlier this season before being sent out on loan to RB Leipzig, and it looks likely the club will just look to cash in on him again this summer, reportedly looking for somewhere in the region of £20 million. Salva Ruiz to Valencia. Just in case the Galicia theme in this 7 wasn't already strong enough, we follow 2 players who began their careers in Spain's most northwestern autonomous community, with one who is now based there. Salva Ruiz is without doubt the least well-known player in this 7, so you may be wondering why I have featured him at all. That is because I'm a crazed maverick who doesn't play by the usual rules of football YouTube. And also because we sometimes like to talk about slightly more obscure players here at HITC Sevens. Salva Ruiz is certainly that, having only ever played 1 game for Valencia's first team during his 2 stints with the club, and given that he now plays in Spain's 3rd tier, still aged only 25. A promising youth team player, Ruiz represented Spain at 4 different youth levels, right up to the under-20 team. Between 2011 and 2017, Ruiz made over 100 appearances for Valencia's B team, but he only ever made 1 senior appearance. In 2018, Ruiz finally left Valencia, joining Segunda Division side Mallorca, with whom he won promotion to La Liga via the playoffs. Valencia subsequently decided to activate their buyback clause and bring Ruiz back to the Mestalla while sending him back on loan to Mallorca, but within 12 months, the Spaniard was gone again. Ruiz joined Deportivo La Coruña, with whom he was relegated from the Segunda Division this season, and as far as I can tell, no one really made bank on any of his sales. Gerard Deulofeu to Barcelona. There is a pretty large subsection of footballers that fall into the bracket of being good, but just not quite good enough to play for Barcelona. Gerard Deulofeu is one such player, although Barca required a couple of looks at the wide man before coming to that conclusion. Deulofeu was born in a tiny village in Girona, in Catalonia, and he joined the La Masia Academy at the age of 9. One of La Masia's brightest stars for a number of years, Deulofeu is one of the most decorated Spanish youth internationals of all time, and he was a regular for Spain at virtually every youth level. Between 2011 and 2013, Deulofeu lit up the Segunda Division with Barca B, scoring 18 goals in 33 games in his 2nd season of senior football. By 2015 though, Deulofeu had still only played 4 first-team games at the Camp Nou, so Barca accepted a £4.2 million bid from Everton. Following 2 years with the Toffees, 6 months of which was spent on loan with AC Milan, Barcelona decided Deulofeu was worth exercising their £10.5 million buyout clause on. He arrived along with Ousmane Dembele as Neymar departed, and Deulofeu played 17 games in his only half season back with his boyhood club. Ultimately, Barca decided Deulofeu wasn't quite up to scratch, and after half a season on loan at Watford, he was sold to the Hornets permanently for a little over £10 million. Watford were obviously relegated from the Premier League this season, and Deulofeu is one of a number of players at Vicarage Road who you would expect to be courting some interest this summer. Dani Carvajal to Real Madrid. I said Real Madrid and Barcelona were the masters of the buyback clause, up to this point at least, and each of the El Clasico rivals feature twice in this 7. Dani Carvajal's signing is one of the finest buybacks ever completed, with Real striking fast following the Spaniard's first season away from the Bernabeu. Carvajal was sold by Real Madrid in 2012 before making his first team debut, following 2 years of good form for Real Madrid Castilla. Bayer Leverkusen were the suitors, snapping the young fullback up for just €5 million. On the face of it, it looked like a great piece of business, and in many ways it still was, but it always seemed likely that Real would re-sign Carvajal at some stage. In his only season in Germany, Carvajal was among the most assured and entertaining fullbacks in the Bundesliga, immediately becoming a stalwart of a Leverkusen side that finished third in the league and reached the round of 32 in the Champions League. As part of Real's 3-year buyback option, they could sign Carvajal back for €6.5 million after 1 season, €7 million after 2 seasons, and €7.5 million after 3 seasons. With Alvaro Arbeloa coming to an end, Real were in no mood to wait around, bring Carvajal back to Madrid at the earliest possible opportunity. 7 years on, Carvajal is closing in on 300 appearances at the Bernabeu, where he has won 16 trophies, and the 28-year-old will go down as one of the best right-backs of his generation. So all things considered, Real were probably wise to trigger Carvajal's buyback clause. That's it for today's video. Thank you all as ever for watching. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. Oh, and also, if you're a big fan, feel free to follow me on both Twitter and Instagram, where the username is simply HITC Sevens.